Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento, and in today's episode, we are talking about something that we all want in business, something that would benefit every single one of our businesses, which is customer loyalty and turning customers into raving fans. And we've got one of the best in the industry to walk us through exactly how to do that. Because in today's episode, I am joined by the incredible Kiesha King-Brown. She is so good at what she does. I'm so excited for you to not only experience her brilliance, but hear her energy. She loves this stuff, and it's why big businesses like Gap, for example, have turned to her to implement their own customer loyalty program. So to tell you a little bit about Kiesha, she has won so many awards, 20 plus awards for her role as a senior retail leader in Fortune 200 companies. And she's also become a tech executive and a customer strategist. Kiesha helped leaders turn around multi-million-dollar markets with innovative customer strategies. And like I already teased, she was the market leader asked to help create the loyalty program for Gap and Old Navy, which are under the same umbrella. Kiesha transitioned to coaching small business owners, startup CEOs, and executives connect the dots between leadership, customer strategy, and financial performance before entering the tech world, where she worked with an AI marketing company, partnering with CMOs and business owners before founding her own baby, where she's doing great work, Loyalty-Centric, which is where she helps businesses double their conversions and keep customers for life. I'm not going to say anything else about Kiesha because I'm so excited to dive into my interview today with Kiesha King-Brown. Kiesha, I am so excited to have you here on the show today. Welcome to the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Heck yeah. So obviously, I'm clearly excited about our conversation today. I read your bio, but fill in the gaps for listeners. Who is Kiesha?
Well, Kiesha is someone who's had kind of a non-traditional career journey. As you mentioned, I was in the big box or corporate retail world for most of my career, but that's where I learned to drive performance, starting with the customer. I'm a big believer in Steve Jobs' quote that says, "Start with the customer and work your way back to technology." And I believe that also rings true for working your way back to your strategy, working your way back to your financials and everything else. And that's kind of how I've lived my professional career when it comes to coaching, as well as being in the tech industry and now helping small business owners. So I want to make things accessible to small business owners that have only been accessible to big enterprise companies when it comes to customer loyalty, customer solutions, customer strategies that actually drive revenue. But in my spare time, I'm also a Taekwondo boy mom. So I try to keep that balance between work and home.
Yes, and I'm going to humble brag for Kiesha just a little bit. Her 8-year-old son is a first-degree black belt. So don't mess with Kiesha's young man. That is so cool that you've created an environment for him to really flourish in something that clearly he enjoys. So Kiesha, I love that. And you already mentioned you had a non-traditional career path, and gosh, do we love those here on the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. Take us back to corporate life, because you are very well accomplished in your professional career. Talk to us about the circumstances that made you fall so in love with understanding the customer's journey. I love that Steve Jobs quote that you already dropped on us. What led to you running the customer, helping Gap launch their customer loyalty program?
Well, it actually started probably not in the ideal way. With both, Best Buy that I worked for as well as Gap, the way that I ran my markets was starting with figuring out, okay, here's where I have all the stores in the different markets. Let's figure out who the customers are and why they're not coming to the stores. And, when you work for corporate retail and big box, they have playbooks that you're supposed to follow for your markets and your stores. And, I wasn't the person that necessarily was excited about following playbooks. I didn't break any rules. I followed the company values and everything, but I kind of had my own way and my own thing that I wanted to do. I kind of got my hand slapped a lot of times. And it kind of got to the point where it was like, okay, well, you brought me here for a reason to turn around a market or to take a market to the next level. If it doesn't work out, take my keys, right? And so I would literally help store leaders step back. We would literally observe customers as they were engaging in stores. I would put them in my car. We would drive around the markets to figure out what are the zip codes in your areas, who are the customers, what are their cultures, what are their habits, and then we would figure all these different things out manually and then try to come back into the store and build a strategy so that we could be better at serving them so that they would want to come and interact and engage and purchase with us. So we did things kind of the opposite of what the playbook was, but it took up the stores. And in some cases with Yap, I was asked to turn around a market that was underperforming for 7 years. I don't know how that happens. And I turned it around in 6 months doing that and took them to top 5% of the company, starting with the customer and those strategies. And so because I was able to do that and it was consistent performance, they kind of said, well, maybe this is the market where we should start when it comes to our customer loyalty program and get feedback and partnership from Kiesha and her team to roll that out.
Yeah, I love hearing that story, Kiesha, especially because already you were an entrepreneur already when you were working inside of that business. You wanted to do things your way because you knew it was a more effective way. And I say so frequently on this episode that not only is the customer the answer, but the customer has all the answers that businesses need. And it's really fun for me to get to talk to you today because we are talking about that juxtaposition of big business loyalty programs with also how all of us can implement loyalty programs in our own businesses. So as consumers, we've experienced, we go to Target and they tell us, hey, give us your phone number. What's your perspective on what a good loyalty program looks like for big business? And then spell it out for us how we can apply that.
Yep, absolutely. I think that a good loyalty program benefits the customer as much as it benefits the business, right? So it's convenient, there's no friction, but it's fun. For me, there always has to be that fun element as well as it being beneficial. So when I think about the old school days of here's this punch card, right? You punch the little hole every time you come and we'll give you, a free donut or you'll get a discount off of these clothes at the end of, 12 shopping experiences. Well, one, that's not fun. I got to keep up with this card that I'm probably going to lose. And it isn't really that engaging. Well, today, when you think about modern loyalty programs, it's convenient. I can look at it right on my phone. It's always with me. And things that make it fun are things like gamification. That's fun for me, right? So I can do a spin wheel. I can be on some type of loyalty board if I refer your business, and I can compete against other customers, which makes it fun and engaging, fun competition, right? The data that you use, if I give you permission, you're using it to personalize for my experience to be better. So for instance, my 8-year-old, his name is Jordan. Okay, so he loves to wear Jordans. I'm not buying those unless they're on sale. So if you're using the information to personalize the experience that I get and you're letting me know whenever they're on sale, I approve you using my data. That's a benefit to me versus you just pushing sales to me because it's benefiting your company, right? So all of these things, personalization, gamification, all of these different things are benefiting the customer and keeping them more engaged because it's fun. That's a win-win situation versus the old school days of loyalty programs, which was really designed just to get customers back in the building for more revenue, but wasn't necessarily a win-win on the side of the customer that was as big of a benefit to them.
Yeah, one thing that I'm going to call out already, it's obviously part of your brilliance and it comes so naturally to you, is that you said that it needs to benefit the customer as much as it benefits the business, or in fact, more. And to me, when I hear that, I'm just like, well, yeah, obviously, if we're looking for customer loyalty, we need to focus on the customers, not be us-centric, be customer-centric. And that's why, obviously, I love the name of your own company, Loyalty-Centric, because that's what drives so much of what you do. Let's back way up. It's fun to do this in the episode. why do we actually care about customer loyalty? We can see for the Targets, the Best Buys of the world, why it matters. But for us as small business owners, obviously that's a key marketing channel for us. Talk about the impacts you've seen of customer loyalty on small businesses.
Yeah, I mean, if you just think about what we just went through in the last couple of years with the pandemic, think about how many small business owners didn't make it. They went out of business. Customer loyalty is, if you break it down, it's just really what keeps your customers coming back. It's what makes the customer say, you know what, I'm going to shop with you, or I'm going to do business with you instead of them, right? And that's what keeps you in business long term. It's what increases your customer lifetime value, right? And if you don't have that, you're gambling and taking that risk every single day when you get up in the morning and pouring your heart and soul into the business that you have, that you're not going to be here tomorrow. The worst thing to have is a small business owner that loses sleep every night because they don't know if they're going to be in business tomorrow, or they don't know if they can go to their kid's game tomorrow because they're stressing about the fact that they have to work 20 hours, 18 hours, 16-hour days to try to scrape and make the sales that they need to keep their business afloat. And they just have their head above water because they don't have enough customers coming in. At the end of the day, 80% of your business should be coming from existing customers. And if you're focused on trying to get new customers all the time because you don't have repeat customers, you don't have customer loyalty.
Yeah, Kiesha, one thing, this is something actually in full transparency, you and I haven't talked about this off air, but one thing that made our show reach out to you is that right on your website, you talk about, and you already brought it up in this interview, you talk about using this. The pandemic showed how much we need customer loyalty. And one other thing that you mentioned is during a recession, this is a recession-proof marketing strategy. And a lot of people are worried about the macroeconomic climate right now. I don't see a more stable marketing source than referrals, than customer loyalty. Like you talked about, Facebook ads, those change over time. Heck, for the past 3 years, we've seen costs spiral out of control. But this is a marketing channel that always works for businesses. And you said 80% of our business should come from our existing customers. Kiesha, talk to those business owners out there who are thinking, well, I own a web design agency. I build a website for somebody and then the project is over. How can they actually drum up that repeat business, that referral business?
Yeah, absolutely. So part of what you get with a loyalty program is that referral aspect, right? There is a aspect of it where you can get personalized referral links. Same thing. So they can be rewarded. They can be part of the gamification, all of those things. So you're getting that repeat business from a loyalty perspective as far as them engaging with your business by referring business to other people. They become part of your ecosystem now, because part of what I talk about all the time with business owners is also collaborating with customers. People don't think about collaboration unless they think about other businesses. Collaborating with customers is one of the ways that I grew businesses and turned around markets in ways other people didn't. I would sit in rooms with leaders of the oil field and find out, how can we help you in the oil field, which is also how we grew our business during a recession in the oil fields when the oil field market crashed. It was unheard of, right? So even if they don't need your marketing services today, or they don't need them for another year or another 2 years, another 3 years, that collaboration piece, because they're helping to refer you business, is still part of the loyalty aspect, and the loyalty program is built into the system.
Ooh, I love this. And I knew you'd be dropping some new strategies on us that most of us don't think about. You've worked with businesses of all different sizes, all different industries. Lay some of those collaboration efforts on us. I'm very interested in that.
Yeah. So, so I just talked to you about one with the oil fields. I mean, we had trouble driving business to a newer store. A lot of new businesses struggle. It was a location. It was near the Texas Motor Speedway, actually. Couldn't figure out how to get business there. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go talk to the people at the Texas Motor Speedway. I didn't know anything about NASCAR. My brother-in-law was going to kill me. I didn't know anything about NASCAR. finally got someone to talk to us. And we actually, before pop-ups were pop-ups, we were able to do a portable pop-up store for Best Buy on the grounds the weekend of a race. We set up somebody's brother-in-law's generator to power our register, so that people could buy things that they needed for the race, so they didn't have to get into traffic. It was a huge success. Then they also knew where our location was, so they started coming to our location at future races. That's something that you can do. I've also had situations where we partnered with realtors to sell appliances. We've had small businesses where the referral system, if you think about the loyalty system with referrals, I have a realtor right now who's excited about using the loyalty system so that she can use it for her ecosystem. She's going to partner with pool guys. She's going to partner with title companies. She's going to partner with handymen. These are the people that are going to be in her loyalty and referral system. So this is collaboration to help grow her business versus partnering with customers. There's all sort of different ways that you can continue to do that, right? I personally, I'm partnering with digital marketing companies. I'm partnering with credit processing companies. As someone who is doing something that's loyalty and relationship marketing, there are so many different ways to collaborate on behalf of customers that also grows your business.
Yeah, and two things in particular that I love about this approach is that you truly are creating win-win-win scenarios. You win, your collaborator wins, the customers win, everybody wins. And the second thing that I really love is I would imagine that there's a lot of momentum behind this, kind of like the snowball effect. You know, you get it up and running and you start getting some success, but over time it just exponentially grows and you reap even more successes. Talk to us about those beginning days, because a lot of entrepreneur and entrepreneur listeners of this show are thinking, well, Kiesha, I don't have that many customers. I don't have that many clients. How do I even get that ball rolling?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, I'm still in the beginning days. So I started this company while I was with the AI marketing company, and this is how I'm getting it started. And acceleration is through collaboration. I default to collaboration. I believe collaboration is the number one growth strategy. And again, it's a two-pronged approach. It's collaboration with customers and it's collaboration with business partners. So the side with business partners, I'm in networking groups, online and offline. Matter of fact, about an hour before I came on here, I was at a networking group talking to people about how we can collaborate, different businesses that serve the same type of clients and how we can serve them better by working together. And then I'm in online collaboration groups because I serve customers that are nationwide. And so it benefits me to be in online networking groups that serve people across the country. And then we work together that way. From a customer perspective, the collaboration comes in because, as you mentioned earlier, who best to solve a problem or to come up with creative ideas than the people themselves that we are serving. So as we talk to them, and this is one of the things I did before I started my company, was I went and talked to people who would potentially use my services and my solution to get their feedback on, hey, would you use this? How would you use it? How would it best benefit you? And what feedback would you give to me as somebody who wants to offer this solution and start this business? And then I started building from there. Start with the customer and then work your way backwards.
Yeah, which also means that you started already knowing that there was a need and a desire from your customers to use what it is that you're building. So you saved yourself time and energy and resources, and you're also plugging in a gap that you know exists. So I love that approach. One other part of your approach, Kiesha, that I'm excited to hear about, I am a tech junkie. I love technology. I love tools. I love softwares. And to me, I love how all these things, we're talking about so many soft skills, caring about the people, making sure that you're in tune with your customers, but you also combine technology into that. Talk to us about some of the ways. You already mentioned having a referral link, for example, for people to refer you business. What are some tech solutions, not only that you offer, but that you see working when it comes to loyalty programs?
Yep, sure. So when it comes to loyalty programs, the other aspects of the loyalty program built in, so you have the automated email and text marketing, right, which can be personalized. It can help with abandoned carts. It can help with personalized marketing because you have customer segmentation built in that, and you can tie that together. You have the automated customer surveys, which can be personalized to get that insight, right? So I do a lot of that in person, but when you want to scale it, that's what tech is for. So you can scale that. There's customer reviews built into the tech as well. You can have a mobile app, big piece of tech that I think is really important because you want to be mobile first. Most customers do most of their online things on their phone, and it reduces the friction in the customer journey, right? I talked about AI a little bit before. Obviously, I'm into AI. I love tech. You can blame Best Buy. I love technology. But I worked in AI marketing as well. And one of the things that I offer also has some AI built in it in addition to the loyalty program. And what AI does is it allows you to understand the behavioral aspect of customers better so that you can predict what customer needs will be so that you can serve them better. So imagine being able to predict and get ahead of their needs and their wants to improve customer satisfaction. So when you think about tech, AI is probably one of the most modern aspects of tech that you can currently use. And it's partnering with someone, if you're not comfortable with partnering with someone who is, because there really are simplified ways to do it. It doesn't have to be scary.
Yeah, and up to this point, we've really talked about so many of the different elements of loyalty and getting referrals, for example. But one thing that I think is interesting that you bring into your conversations and the way that you do business is that you also focus on the customer service experience. For example, one of the services that you offer with your business, Loyalty-Centric, is live chat. And to me, when I read, your marketing and kind of the pitch about customer loyalty programs is that you turn customers into fans. And that's something that I think so many businesses overlook is that customer service piece of it. Because as a customer myself of obviously a lot of businesses, yeah, you're right. Getting a hold of somebody, that is one way to improve that experience. Talk to us about where you think customer service fits into this mix and why it's so closely tied to loyalty.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, it's no different if you think about when you physically go into a business, it's the difference between someone taking the initiative to engage with you when you're in a business or when you're in a retail store versus you seeing someone that's around and you have to go ask for help, right? That's the complete difference. Or you don't see anybody at all. Maybe somebody's working there, but they stay in the back the whole time, right? So if someone comes to your website or they're in your sales funnel or they're on your e-commerce store, and the first thing that happens when they get there is that an actual person pops up in a box and says, "Hey, I'm live. I'm such and such. What can I help you with today?" And they can point you in the direction. They can have a conversational dialogue with you, not a pre-programmed FAQ type interaction. That feels completely different. It feels like someone is supporting you. They put you first. There's a totally different type of experience. And they can offer you suggestive items. So if I'm shopping for a pair of shoes, they might suggest and say, "Hey, I noticed you were looking at that pair of shoes. Here's a t-shirt that matches those shoes perfectly. I might appreciate that and buy that," right? Those are the different things that really differentiate you from other businesses. Maybe I'm a frustrated customer, but if I'm not interacting with a chatbot that only has so many things programmed into it, I feel very different when a person can solve my problem in that moment. And I don't have to wait more than like 5 to 10 seconds for them to interact with me. Now you've turned my experience around and I become a loyal customer now versus I started off frustrated when I got to your website and I couldn't figure out how to get help.
Yeah, Kiesha, it's fun for me to listen to the way that you answer these questions because for you, it comes so naturally to talk about and think about the customer experience. And so even in this example that you gave about shopping for shoes, having a human be like, "Hey, if you like these shoes also serve you." And I know from talking to as many entrepreneurs and wantrepreneurs as I do that a lot of them are very hesitant to utilize the communication channels. You've already mentioned text message marketing, email marketing. Too many entrepreneurs have email lists and they go, I'm afraid to email my list. I don't want to bother them. But you just revealed your communications with your customers is not a bother. It's not a sales vehicle. It is a vehicle through which you help them. I'd love for you to share some of your perspectives on using those mechanisms that we may already have, our text message lists, our email lists, to actually serve clients, and how different that is than viewing it as the typical, hey, this is me, sign up for my newsletter so I can plaster you with what I want.
Yeah, I think exactly what you mentioned. I think it's all about the how, right? It's about how you're doing it. It goes back to, are you doing to serve your customer? Or are you doing it to sell your customer? And if you're using the personalization features based off your data, so a lot of small business owners aren't using their data, or they don't have data, right? If you are using and understand your data will tell you what are the behaviors that your customers are consistently engaged in, what insight are they giving you through the data, and if you're using that on their behalf, and then you send them a text message, you send them an email that is based off what they're telling you they want, they're not going to be upset. They're actually going to be happy. Data actually shows that more than 70% of people appreciate a text or an email that is personalized, that benefits their needs. They actually want that. They will actually go with the business that does that versus one that doesn't. And so I think there are myths out there because we're selling versus serving. So if we're using the data and then we're using it to personalize, and our first intent is to serve versus sell, we wouldn't have those reservations. And so maybe if we don't know how to do that, then we need to partner with a coach or a business who understands how to do it the right way. Our customers will be happy and our business will accelerate.
Yes, it's so true, because it's kind of a national debate where people are all creeped out by the data that social media have on all of us. But the reality is they use it to build more targeted experiences for us. If when I log on to Facebook or Instagram, I see ads related to soccer products, tennis products, because they know what I like and they know how to serve me those. That's way better than me logging on and seeing, gardening products when I've never planted a tree in my life. So yeah, we like this, but you did open that door about data. Kiesha, I'd love for you to talk about some data in two regards. Obviously, you come from a big business background, so I'm curious about the data that businesses can use when they have existing data to make these better decisions and understand their customers, but also for newer businesses who may not have that data accessible. Obviously, we live in a data world where you can get it from so many different sources. Even if you don't have it, what are some of those key metrics or data points that you look for?
Yeah, so obviously data restrictions are increasing. And at some point, they keep moving the date back. What they call cookies, right, are going away, where companies won't be able to continue to just track all the things that you're doing on the internet and use that data to send you ads or follow you around social media, et cetera. And companies are going to have to get better at getting to know you, at getting your trust, so that they can have permission to serve you better, which is why it is important that small business owners understand some of the things that I'm talking about. So some of the data that's really important, and a lot of it can come through a customer loyalty program if you have a modern one, is customer lifetime value. What is your retention rate? What is the repeat purchase rate? Right? We even go so far as to let you know what is the recaptured revenue percent. And that means, hey, I had a customer, they were shopping with me for a while, and then something happened. They didn't have a good experience, or they found something shiny and new where I wasn't doing a good enough job engaging them, and they left for a while. I finally did something like use my email and text marketing that got them to come back. And now that they've come back after a few months, I recaptured them. So the revenue I have now in phase 2 is recaptured revenue. It can also show me what revenue am I getting from my loyal customers that is through promotions that I offer versus without promotions. Maybe I didn't even need to do a promotion and I'm wasting the margin that I'm giving away, right? So these are some of the metrics that are important to understand in addition to your typical financials, right? I've taught a lot of different leaders at different levels around how to understand their profit and loss statement when it comes to, even if you think about the key lines of the P&L with revenue, margin, expenses, and net operating profit, these things tie into those 4 key lines. And if you don't have them, you cannot understand how to serve your customers better.
Yeah, Kiesha, I want to echo one of the things that you just dropped in there. Lifetime customer value. I feel like that is, I've said it before, it might be the most important number in all of business, but I don't feel like we talk about it enough. So I love that that's such a core part of what you brought up. I want to bring listeners back. Episode 308, I had Michael Philippou on, who owns an ice cream shop in Santa Monica in Los Angeles. And the first time I ever walked into Michael's ice cream shop, he was just giving me a sample of this, a sample of that, sampling all the toppings. And I said to him, I was like, dude, at this point, I've probably had $25 worth of free ice cream in here. And he said, I know that if I can turn you into a customer, you're going to be worth at least $250 in lifetime sales. So I love that attitude. Kiesha, what are some of those other ways? Obviously, this is a simplistic ice cream example that I'm using, but you've seen different businesses. What are some of those ways to keep people coming back? So when they leave the door, there's so many different channels. You talked about text, emails, all those things. What are some of those call to actions that we can use to get them to come back to us?
Yeah, you know what? I think small business owners actually have an advantage over some of the bigger companies, right? I'll give you an example, and some of them aren't necessarily formal call to actions. I'll give you an example of my insurance guy. So I have an insurance guy, and he sent to my house. I didn't know it was coming. So there's this box that shows up to my house, and on the box, there's a picture of me and my son. And when I open the box, there's these like the most delicious brownies that I shouldn't be eating. But there's a picture of me and my son also on each of these brownies, on the brownies. And in there's a handwritten note from he and his wife, who's his business partner, thanking me for my business, right? So think about insurance. It's like one of the most boring industries there is. You don't really get a lot of differentiation between agents from here to there. You might get a Christmas card here or there, right? But think about the differentiation of that personal touch. I'm assuming he stole that picture from my Facebook profile somewhere, right? But there's this personal touch. And for my son to look at that box and go, Mommy, we're on brownies. Can I have one? Right? Like there's this different piece that makes me go, this guy's different, right? It makes me know that he took the time to understand how important my child is to me, but it's just different. So there's an example of you trying to figure out how you can understand what's important to your client and then make some connection there. And there's something called surprise and delight that I talk about a lot. What can you show your customer that makes them know, oh, I'm not just a customer to them. They didn't have to do that. And do just little things like that because you are a small business owner and there's things that you can do that big companies can't, right? So that's an example, right? And there's other things like that that you can do throughout the year. If you know what, you get information, right? So how can you send something on their birthday? How can you send something on an anniversary that they have? What can you do that big companies can't? I tell clients all the time, if you're e-commerce, you should know what Amazon is doing, but don't try to compete with them. Do what Amazon can't do. Those are calls to action that I give small business owners.
Kiesha, I'm so glad to know that you have the same weakness I do. Brownies and cookies for me. We are simple at the end of the day. I love that you are also guilty of this. But listeners, I want to call something out for you because Kiesha is just brilliant in so many ways and it's so simple for her that it's easy to overlook the simplicity of her brilliance. Because check out what my question was. My question was about calls to actions that we business owners can give to our customers to get them to come back. And Kiesha, you took it and you said, hey, let's focus more on touch points with our customers. Let's celebrate their birthdays. Let's reach out for them on their milestones to celebrate what matters to them. So I love the concept of touch points over necessarily finding and wordsmithing those perfect calls to action. action. So really good takeaway there. Kiesha, we could probably talk about loyalty. I guarantee that you could for days on end. And also, I love how much you tie it in with the customer experience, first and foremost, but also tying that into our business growth. So as we come towards the end of this episode, I always love giving listeners something actionable. And I know that you have forced entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs everywhere to sit down and be like, I'm not doing any of these things in my business. Gosh, I need to start thinking about it. Where do you think is the right place for small business owners, maybe those solopreneurs out there that make up so much of our audience? What is the very first thing that they should do in their journey of building more customer loyalty and building that fan base that they want?
Yeah, so one of the simple pieces of feedback I give people of where to start is in that collaboration piece with customers. So whatever customers you have, start asking them for feedback. And not just asking them feedback about how was their purchase, how was the last service that you gave them, but start asking them for their insight around how you could take your business to the next level, how you could benefit the next customer. If you're thinking about creating a new product or a new service, get their insight before you do it. So start partnering with the customer and asking for their feedback so they feel like a part of their own customer journey to move your business forward. And that will accelerate and take your business to such a different level because their loyalty will multiply exponentially because you took them as a partner on not only their own customer journey, but on yours as well, because they will see the value that you're putting in them. And it's something that doesn't cost you anything.
Boom. I absolutely love that advice. And of course, when I ask you for the first step, you go straight towards the customer and letting them be a part of the journey. I love those insights, Kiesha. There are so many golden nuggets all throughout our conversation today that I know I'm going to personally go back and listen to this again, maybe 2 or 3 times, because there is so much opportunity in all of these areas that you talked about with us here today. So Kiesha, I'm so appreciative of you coming here on the show today. But first things first, I want to open the floor for you to tell listeners where they can go to find out more about your work and also Loyalty Centric, because you're doing some really awesome work for businesses there.
Sure. You can go to loyaltycentric.tech. So that's loyaltycentric.tech.
So loyaltycentric.tech, it's www.loyaltycentric.tech. Of course, we are linking to that wherever it is that you're tuning into today's episode. So hit that link. You're going to see all of what we talked about today. Kiesha practices what she preaches. You're going to see that she layers tech into enabling companies to implement these sorts of loyalty programs in their businesses, in your business. If you're a listener hearing this thinking, gosh, I do need this stuff. And also reach out to Kiesha. She's worked with so many different business owners on a consulting basis, helping them implement stuff like this, but also broader growth stuff. So Kiesha, you clearly are a wealth of knowledge in all of your experiences. So thanks so much for coming and sharing them with us here today on the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast.
Thank you.